Chapter 1. The accusation before Pilate. The chief priests and the scribes assembled in the council. Ananias, Cappius, Salmone, Doatham, Gamaliel, Judas, Levi, Naphtali, Alexander, Jairus, and the rest of the Jews. They came to Pilate accusing Jesus of many deeds. "We know this man," they said. "He is the son of Joseph, the carpenter, born of Mary, and yet he claims to be the Son of God and a king. Moreover, he pollutes the Sabbath and would destroy the law of our fathers." Pilate asked, "What things does he do that would destroy the law?" The Jews answered, "We have a law that forbids healing anyone on the Sabbath. But this man, through his evil deeds, has healed the lame, the bent, the withered, the blind, the paralytic, the mute, and those possessed by demons, and all on the Sabbath day." Pilate asked them, "By what evil deeds?" They said unto him, "He is a sorcerer. He casts out demons by Beelzebub, the prince of demons, and they are all subject to him." Pilate replied, "Casting out demons is not done by an unclean spirit, but by the God of Asclepius." I don't really know how to say that. The Jews said to Pilate, "We beg your majesty to have him appear before your judgment seat to be heard." Pilate called to them and said, "Tell me, how can I, who am a governor, examine a king?" They answered, "We don't say he is a king. He says of it of himself." Pilate called the messenger and said to him, "Let Jesus be brought here, but with gentleness." The messenger went out, and when he saw Jesus, he worshipped him, and took the cloth that was on his hand and spread it upon the ground, and said to him, "Lord, walk on this and enter, for the governor calls you." When the Jews saw what the messenger had done, they cried out against Pilate, "Why didn't you summon him by a herald to enter by a messenger?" The messenger, when he saw him, worshipped him and spread out his cloth upon the ground, making him walk upon it like a king. Then Pilate called for the messenger and said to him, "Why have you done this, spreading your cloth upon the ground and making Jesus walk upon it?" And the messenger replied, "The Lord Governor, when you sent me to Jerusalem to see Alexander, I saw Jesus sitting upon a donkey. The children of the Hebrews held branches in their hands and cried out, while others spread their garments beneath him, saying, 'Save now, you who are in the highest. Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord.'" The Jews cried out and said to the messenger, "The children of the Hebrews cried out in Hebrew, and how then do you have it in Greek?" The messenger replied, I asked one of the Jews, and he said, "What are they crying out in Hebrew?" And he interpreted it for me. Pilate asked him, "And how do they cry out in Hebrew?" And the Jews said to him, "Hosanna, Membrain," I don't know how to say that word, and he said, "Adonai." Pilate asked, "And the Hosanna and the rest, how is it interpreted?" The Jews told him, "Save now, you who are in the highest. Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord." And Pilate said to them, "If you yourselves bear witness of the words spoken by the children, how has the messenger sinned?" They fell silent. The governor said to the messenger, "Go forth and bring him in whatever manner you wish." The messenger went out and did as before, saying to Jesus, "Lord, enter. The governor calls you." Now, when Jesus entered, and the ensigns were holding the standards, the images on the standards bowed down and paid reverence to Jesus. And when the Jews saw how the standards bowed themselves and paid reverence to Jesus, they cried out loudly against the ensigns. But Pilate said to the Jews, "Don't you marvel that the images bowed themselves and paid reverence to Jesus?" The Jews said to Pilate, "We saw how the ensigns made them bow and pay reverence to them." The governor called for the ensigns and asked them, "Why did you do this?" And they answered Pilate, "We are Greeks, and we are Greeks and servers of the temples. How could we pay him reverence? Indeed, we were held the images, and they bowed of themselves and paid reverence to him." Then Pilate said to the rulers of the synagogue and the elders of the people, "Choose strong and able men, and have them hold the standards, and let us see if they bow of themselves." And the elders of the Jews took 12 strong and able men, and made them hold the standards, 6 men to each standard. And they positioned before the judgment seat of the governor. Pilate said to the messenger, "Take him out of the judgment hall and bring him in again, in whatever manner you wish." Jesus went out of the judgment hall and with the messenger, and Pilate called to him those who held the images before and said to them, "I have sworn by the safety of Caesar that if the standards don't bow when Jesus enters, I will cut your heads off." The governor commanded Jesus to enter a second time, and the messenger did as before and earnestly asked Jesus to walk upon his cloth. Jesus walked upon it and entered. And when he entered, the standards bowed themselves again and paid reverence to Jesus. When Pilate saw this, he was afraid and tried to rise from the judgment seat. And while he was still thinking about rising, his wife sent word to him, saying, "Have nothing to do with this just man, for I have suffered many things because of him during the night." Pilate called all the Jews to him and said, "You know that my wife fears God and favors the customs of the Jews along with you." And they said to him, "Yes, we know it." And Pilate said to them, "Look, my wife has sent word to me saying, have nothing to do with this just man, for I have suffered many things because of him during the night." But the Jews answered and said to Pilate, "Didn't we tell you that he is a sorcerer? See, he has sent a vision to your wife." And Pilate called Jesus to him and said, "What is this that these witnesses against you? Do you have nothing to say?" But Jesus said, "If they had no power, they would speak nothing. Every man has power over his own mouth to speak good or evil. They will see to it." The elders of the Jews answered and said to Jesus, "What will we see? First, that ye were born of fornication. Second, that your birth in Bethlehem caused the slaying of children. Third, that your father Joseph and your mother Mary fled into Egypt because they had no confidence before the people." And then the certain devout Jews who stood by said, We don't say that he came from fornication. We know that Joseph was betrothed to Mary, and he was not born of fornication." Oh, by the way, I am reading the Gospel of Nicodemus.